Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'm Erin, I'm a Google Workspace specialist here. We also have David Alec on the call with us today. David is one of our Google engineers who will be doing a walkthrough of our gPanel application for you guys. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with Promevo already, but for those of you who aren't, just wanted to give a brief introduction to who we are and what we do here. Promevo is a premier partner of Google. We focus 100% in all things Google. As you can see on the slides, we offer a variety of products and services. We specialize in Google Workspace, Google Cloud Platform, Chrome hardware and licensing, as well as Maps. We have an amazing Google certified team with over 100 certifications and also specialize in a variety of services. Some of those services include cloud migrations, app development services, and other services just to help support your Google environment. As we go through gPanel today, I'm sure you guys are going to find the value in having gPanel to help enhance your daily workflow. gPanel, by definition, is Promevo's exclusive Google Workspace management and reporting solution. As we review, you guys are going to see how the intuitive centralized user management and security interface delivers peace of mind with a robust suite of features. Most of these tools and features that we'll go through today have been requests from our own clients. We were able to take those requests and build gPanel to what it is today. Depending on how you're managing your Google environment, you'll likely find the benefit in many different areas, and we're going to do our best to touch on a decent amount of those items today. Some key learnings that we'll be covering is how you can create custom automated onboarding workflows, as well as decommissioning workflows, how to utilize our user management dashboard, how you can generate, run, and schedule over 40 unique reports, and how you can modify Gmail signatures for anyone in your organization, along with bulk operations to save you time. Before I turn things over to David, I did want to point out on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a questions box. If you could leave any questions that you have, we'll be monitoring that and answering those as we get to the end of each section. If we don't get to your question on this call, we'll be sure to follow up with you after. Thank you all so much. I will go ahead and turn it over to you, David.
Thanks, Erin. Going to go ahead and share out my screen and we'll get started on the demo here. Okay, everyone should be seeing my screen now. So as Erin mentioned, we're going to go over some of the features today in gPanel. We are going to kind of jump around a bit just due to time constraints. So there is going to be a lot more in gPanel that we're actually not going to be able to cover today. So we're going to hit some of the more popular features in gPanel and make sure everybody can see those for today. So first and foremost, inside of gPanel, when you first come in, it's going to look like this in the user management section. So in here, you're going to have granular user management for each one of your users, and it's going to give you the ability to do policies that you normally are not going to be able to do through the admin console and control over your users. So just taking a couple users as an example, I'm going to go ahead and go into Bill's account, as I mentioned earlier. So the general settings item that we're seeing here, as I mentioned, that's going to have the security information, the ability to do organization unit changes. We can rename the user here. We can also do a suspension through here. We'll have aliases, as I mentioned. These are going to be the ability to add, remove, and then manage these for existing users. Personal contacts. So again, this is going to get you access into any account on your domain. Doesn't have to be Phil, doesn't have to be yourself. And you would be able to go in, view the contacts, search, delete, edit, update. We also have a way to export those, which will export nicely into a Google Sheet, which you would be able to automatically be saved inside of your Google Drive. Then back to kind of where we left off, the Google attributes and the profile information, anything that you add here will go back to Google, and you would also have the ability to utilize these fields specifically for our signature templating item, which we will show you later, and is one of our more popular features. These are the standard Google fields here that you can add and update. And then if there's anything where it doesn't make sense to put a field in there, we can also do custom attributes where you would create these, and that's sort of a key value pair that you would be able to create. And then you can also use these in the signature templates. Still in user management, going down to groups. This is going to be group management for a specific user, whoever you've clicked on. We do have an entire section devoted to groups, and we have a lot of automation based around that as well. But just to cover the user management groups, we do have the ability to manage, edit, and remove people from the groups that they're currently in, of course, C. Now here's a big one for a lot of people, and this is going to be the Gmail settings. So Gmail settings, if any of you are in the business of decommissioning accounts, you're going to know that this is going to be a huge benefit of gPanel, where you can do things like account delegation, or you can set a forward, or you can change the vacation responder, or you can change and update a signature for somebody, even if it's not yourself. And normally with account delegation or forwarding, any of these Gmail settings, to access it, you would actually have to go and reset the password of the account and then go into the account and then set these up yourself. And so that's the normal decommissioning flow if you don't have something that's able to do this. Now, gPanel, you would just add a user here, and then in a matter of moments, you're going to have that user added, and then we can get account delegation over that account. If you're not familiar with the account delegation feature, it's mail delegation. And basically what that is I'll be able now to go into the other mailbox, read, send, and delete as if I were that person. So this is great for things like executive assistants. This is great for things like decommissioned people that are taking over the role when they're coming in. So I have a lot of utility there. Also, the same thing with forwarding. We can set a forward without needing any action taken from anybody on the other side. So I can set a forward here, and regardless of who I add here, as long as they're inside the domain, it will just be auto-added and it will start forwarding immediately. Vacation responder, just kind of jumping around a bit to the ones that people use the most. Vacation responder is going to be available too. So if somebody goes out of town, forgets to set that, which is kind of a pretty common scenario, you can, you don't have to disturb them while they're on the beach, and you set this on their behalf, and that way you don't have to bother them. We also have signature editing for individual users as well. We'll get into the templating here later on, but you do see sort of a little preview of what these template fields might look like as we go further down in the application. The next item here is going to be for the calendar section for each user. This will show a list of the calendars that the person has been subscribed to. So this could be view permission, edit permission. It could be that it's their primary or other people's primary they have permission to view. And you also will have full sharing control over that. So I can add a user here with any of the permissions that are available for calendar, which are going to be basically manage and edit, and then you'll have free busy viewer, etc. for the calendar. You also can control the top level setting. So if I want to make this available to everybody at the domain with free busy viewer only, then I could do that. So I can just take this, hit save there, and now there we go, we've changed that. Another section here that normally you'd have to be, again, you'd either have to have a shared or drive that's shared to you in order to do anything with that actual document, file, or folder. Or if you use gPanel, you don't have to have any access. You can go in and you can edit the shares of anything on your domain, including items in shared drives. And for this, for example, I can go in here and I can say, okay, I want to remove this permission. And notice that I didn't have any permissions on this. So gPanel is able to do this regardless of whether you have been shared to it personally or not. So the drive in here, you'll be able to see folder structure as well and delve deep into your folder structures, see what kind of items are in the folders at lower levels, and do the same management items. You can also track items, you can move them into other folders. We also, in the upper right here, do have the transfer ownership feature. That's part of our decommissioning module as well to do automation on that. However, if you want to do a one-off, you can transfer ownership of all the files and folders to another user just by using that. The previous owner will get reduced to editor permission, but they will still have the share on there, which is nice. As mentioned, shared drives are also available. So these are going to be shared drives and that the user has access to. So you would also be able to control shared drives at the root level, which is going to add somebody at the top shared drive level, but then also you would be able to individually do shares at the file or folder level when you get inside of the shared drive as well. Skipping around, we have a couple other items here in user management just to mention. For security purposes, you have things like your third-party applications. These are going to be things where you've accepted some sort of scope. It's usually something you see like where it says sign in with your Google account, and that's where you would see this OAuth login permission granted. But let's just say a lot of people use Drive for Desktop. So Drive for Desktop is going to have scopes in there for Drive, obviously. And you would be able to see these, anything that somebody has authorized against their account, what the scope is, the permission essentially. And then you'd be able to revoke these centrally. This also is part of the decommissioning module, as you would hope, so that you can automate items that you want to clear out of that third-party application section as well. So that's a little delve into the user management as it stands for an individual user. We also have some, as Aaron mentioned, we have some onboarding actions that you can take in the app. So if we go to add a user, for example, we have a workflow here that's going to greatly reduce the amount of time that you're spending creating users. So we're just going to do a test user here and walk through some of the items. So we have the org unit path that you can set at time of creation, what the role is in the Google admin console, which is the cPanel one, the gPanel role, whether or not they have to have the password reset on the first login, and then whether it's shared to the company directory. Through the wizard here, we also have the ability to add groups as they're being created. So as soon as I go through all of this, for example, I can make sure that they're added to a group at the certain role that I want them to be added at. Additionally, you have profile information. These are going to be the profile fields that we saw earlier. So your job title and so forth, you can fill this out here without having to go through the admin console later. Is basically your normal flow as an admin is going to be, you're going to have to create a user first, and then you're going to have to go add the groups, and you're going to have to go add profile information. And this will take care of that all in one. We also have a custom template for new users that you can set. So you can create these templates here and send a welcome email to them. So this could be for like company branding purposes. This is going to be something you can customize completely from A to Z on this welcome email. And so anything you want in there, helpful links for people that are starting first week kind of itinerary and so forth, that'll be in there when they go into the account. You can also create templates for these new user emails so that they will have, you'll just be able to select something that you've already created, and then that's going to allow you to quickly replicate this for other users that you're creating. Now, finally, here toward the end, we do have policies. These are new user creation policies. And these are defined elsewhere in the application, but what these will allow you to do is onboard people very quickly into certain items. So let's take a look just at this one here, the policy name, new HR user. The first thing that this will do is this will add this person as a share to shared drives. There are two shared drives it's going to add them to, which are going to be the HR specific shared drive and then the full company shared drive. Now we go down here, we're going to have group membership. So they're going to need to go into the HR group, which is here, and then of course the full company group. Then we're going to set the organization unit as well. So that's going to be the human resources organization unit that we have specified. So when I hit create on this or submit, this is going to create the user. It's going to go through, add them to the specified groups. We're going to have that profile information already in there. It's going to have the welcome template email, and then all of those shared drives, all the groups, organization unit, that's all going to be added immediately upon creating the user. So this is going to save you a lot of time when you're onboarding users. I'll go ahead and just pause there, see if we have any questions and from Aaron from the audience.
All right, I'm back on. Sorry about that. Yeah, we do have a couple of questions. I was just going to see if you wanted to pause for a second. So great timing. It looks like, let's see, we have a question from Kimberly. I am looking for a report that advises which admin made what changes in gPanel.
Okay, excellent question. So we have a report section in the application, which will cover some of the top reports that we have. So on the screen here, I'm kind of hovering over it on the menu. For demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and just click into that. But the reports in here are going to show you the admin logs, that is one of the report types for gPanel, and what actions were taken by which person inside of gPanel. So that's one option. The other option is in our administration menu, you also are going to have a logging section. And this logging is going to allow you to do granular searches across any of these fields here. And then in general, if you just want to see everything, every action that was taken, you can add this with no filters selected like this and just hit the search, and this will start pulling back the logging for your instance of gPanel. And that way you'll be able to see what person took what action inside of gPanel. Good question. Anything else?
There's a couple more. How can Google shared drives be managed from gPanel? Can you run scripts in gPanel to manage shared drives?
So that's a good question. So as far as automation for the management of those, we have onboarding for, as what you saw there, we would have onboarding available and being added to shared drives. At the current time, we don't have any feature set that is going to automate further features of that, but we do have that automated onboarding, adding people to shared drives, and then shared drive management can be done through the drive menu item or through the user management item on an individual basis by going into there and then changing any of those, basically permissioning. But you can also do things like move files and folders around or take it out of the shared drive, trash things that are in the shared drive, and so forth. But we'd be interested to hear what sort of ideas that you have for automation with shared drives and what sort of policies that you find would be helpful. A lot of the items that you're going to see today, they come from feature requests from clients just like yourself. And so we're always happy to take a look at those and see how we can improve the application. I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next section. I'm sure there's more questions, but for the sake of time, we're going to move on.
Feel free as we go through to just like every question that you might want to hear the answer to as well. And we'll do our best to get to those. If we don't, we'll follow up with you after the call.
Okay. So the next section here that we're going to talk about is the reporting. And this was something I just mentioned. So we are going to have a large amount of reports. We do have tiers of gPanel, and I will mention that on the starter version, there are going to be 12 reports, which are generally going to be the most popular reports that people run. On the standard tier and above of gPanel, you will see all of these that we see here, which are going to be over 40 different reports. So some of the ones that are going to be the most useful for most people are going to be the things that basically you're not going to be able to find in the admin console. So email delegation. This is one where if you're looking as an admin, you want to know who's been delegating their mail over whom. You want to know, hey, do they have a delegate that's outside your domain, which is possible. And then also forwarding, which similar. You want to know, hey, are people forwarding mail to personal accounts or somewhere outside the domain? So this is a good one also for the security team to get a look at. And the benefit of these reports, one of the big benefits is that A, it saves in your Google Drive and automatically. You can also have it auto share. You can also have it set on a schedule. So if you want a weekly report of email forwarding, this is super easy. You would set this on a schedule. You can set it to 1 week. You can set it to run every day. You can set it to run quarterly, monthly, what have you. We have a very granular scheduler there. But that's going to get you some insight into items in your domain that normally you're not going to see in the admin console. Forwarding is a great example of that. We also have document items that are pretty popular here. Documents that are shared externally. So if you want to see what's out there and it's shared to an external user, that is to say somebody outside of your domain or your subdomain, secondary domains, then you would be able to run this report and that will show you who that is shared to, who the owner of it is, what the title is, and so forth. And again, these get ran in Google Sheets, and they'll just be saved there automatically, which is great. Another big one for most people is going to be the doc shared publicly. So doc shared publicly is a great thing to get a handle on because this is the highest permission. And if you go into Drive, you're going to see a permission, if it's allowed at the top level on your admin console, to share to the link to the public with the link. And that could be even up to edit access. And so sometimes people will over permission items and things that should not be shared outside the domain, and much less shared publicly with the link. This will get you a report of all of those that match that criteria. And then elsewhere in the application, as we'll see later, you have the ability to run a policy to retract those as well. So not only can you get the reporting on that, but gPanel does have the remediation part of it as well. A couple of the other reports are going to be group. Now, group's going to be deceptively a simple title for the group, but what this will do is get you all of the groups on your domain, the members, as well as the group settings. So the group settings are going to be that long list of business group settings that you can set. So these are going to be things like the posting permissions, whether it's an archived group, whether conversation history is on or off. You also would be able to utilize the report that this generates to update the groups. And we'll talk more about that when we get to a bulk operations module. But let's just walk through this real quick and I'll show you. So we can set some optional items for these reports. We can set a destination folder. Normally I would select a folder here that is specific for reports. So I'm just going to skip that for time's sake. And then we're going to take a look at these columns here. We have some default columns that cannot be removed here. And then we have items over here that we can add more things to. So we can say, we can add all of these to this. And then we can select the sources. Now, sources are going to have 4 different options for the most part, unless you're selecting groups. There's by users, and that's going to let you target users or just simply add every user with one click of a button. It's just going to be this checkbox here that says add all. You could also do by group membership, so that can keep it dynamic, especially combined with the scheduler. You can have things run on a weekly basis, and maybe the group has been updated in the meantime to add new people or remove people from the group. And then the next time it runs, it will run on those group members. You also have by domain, which is going to be the domain. If you have secondary domains inside of your admin console, they will appear here and you'll be able to choose that. And then by organization unit, of course, as well, which is going to be one of our targetable items. So this targeting system will show up a lot in the application, especially for automation features. But for this purpose of this, just add a couple groups here. We have an optional email notification. So when this does complete the report, you'll have a notification sent to the person. Automatic shares, and this could be great if you are wanting automatically to generate the report, but then also have it shared to somebody immediately as well. As mentioned, there's a scheduling feature. You can get very granular with this. If I just want to do this every day, literally, I can even go down to the time of the day. But you also have options for days a month. You can do like the 1st, the 15th. You can do quarterly with the months and so forth. So let's just select something. And we'll just go ahead and run that. So this is going to come up with a link to the report, which I just clicked off. And we'll go ahead and run that, see if I can actually catch this now. So what this is going to do, as mentioned, all our reports are going to go into a Google Sheet. This is one here has been created and saved automatically in my Drive. This is going to show you the groups that I've selected and the group settings. So let me expand some of these columns here so we can actually see them. So if we go to the right here, column J, they're included in the global address list and what the disposition is on that. So these are both included in the global address list. They both are archive groups, which means that conversation history is turned on and that Google Vault will retain those for for discovery and exporting. Members can post as the group, so the post as setting and so forth. So these are going to be all of the business group settings. and this will give you one nice report. Again, you cannot get this through the admin console. You'll just be able to get essentially the group name, at best, and then all of these other items you would normally have to go into the group settings individually and then find out what they are. So I'm going to get back to our other tab here. And that is going to be the reporting section. As mentioned, we have over 40 different reports in there for the standard edition. A couple of the other ones, just briefly, are going to be Gmail activity, if you want to have a list of how many emails people have sent and received in a time period. So I just want to maybe every month, I want to find out how many emails have been sent and received by a certain organization unit, a certain group, people that are in a certain department or location. I would be able to do that. You also have license type reports, and you'll be able to get a very easy kind of human readable license report if you're on a split SKU, if you have archive user licenses, if you have frontline standard, frontline starter. So if you have any of those other SKUs and you're not just on one flat SKU, then that's going to be helpful for determining who is assigned what, and that will get you that again in your Google Drive. You also have a report for for credit card numbers, documents that may contain potentially a credit card number or a social security number. So this is a sort of a DLP or data loss prevention feature. This is going to go into the documents of whoever you choose, and then that's going to search for essentially a regular expression matching something that would be a credit card number, social security number, and I'll pull those back. I'll get the title of that and who the owner is, and then it will also actually pull what it's seeing in there that potentially is a number. Go ahead, and that's the reporting section in a nutshell. Again, there's plenty of those that I didn't cover. Most of them are not available in the admin console, and that's a lot of the benefit of our reporting section is we took note of where there were gaps in the admin console and added reports for those. And then it does not matter which SKU you're on when you use gPanel. Any of the items that you have available that you see today, regardless of whether you're on the lowest SKU inside of Workspace, they'll still work. And so normally there are going to be some items that may be duplicated from like the highest tier, Enterprise Plus specifically, that we'll see today. But you don't have to be on Enterprise Plus in order to use things like our Gmail deletion or get a report of documents that are shared publicly and remediate those. And so those are normally going to be at the Enterprise Plus tier where you can actually do remediation on those items with the link, just to throw that one out there. We're moving on to the next section, the next topic. Have any questions there?
Hey, Dave, I got to most of them. Can you run a report for documents that have phone numbers?
We do not have a document report for phone numbers at the current time. And that would be a good suggestion. Again, we can take that back as a feature request and add that in. That should be, since we already have the backbone or the skeleton of that for the social security number, credit card, again, that would be something that would be pretty trivial for us to add, and that's a great suggestion.
We'll take one more. So what about options for recovering deleted files?
So for the deleted files in gPanel, through gPanel, you have an option to restore items from the trash folder. What is available through the admin console, if you're not familiar, you have a certain amount of days to restore data that you can go back, and that's going to restore items that were deleted from the trash as well. And that does not have an API for it, unfortunately, so we cannot add something like that to gPanel, but we can put the untrashing of things that are in the trash folder. Essentially, once something has been deleted from the trash, you do have two options really with Workspace. It's going to be Google Vault, and that's going to be the data restore feature in the admin console. We do not have an API for the data restore feature available from Google, so unfortunately we can't do that. So it's going to be limited to just untrashing things that are still sitting in the trash folder, whether that's individual user trash or the shared drive trash. Good question.
All right, we should be good to move
All
forward.
right. Perfect. All right, I'm going to move on to signature templates, or sorry, policies. And these policies are going to be part of the automation. And we are now in the tools menu. And the tools menu is going to be packed with stuff that is going to be able to be automated, starting at the policies here. So the item we showed earlier with new user creation policies, you can create those through here. But we also have standard policies. These can be ran on a schedule, or you can do that manually. So let's just go here and add to group. And we're going to do a group action here, and we're going to utilize that targeting system that we talked about earlier to make sure that people are added to group. So these are some of the available actions here. We do have add to group, and to highlight some of the other ones that are nice, you have add to shared drive. You have the ability to clear primary calendar of somebody or some buddies, and also have the ability to duplicate user groups. So that would be if you have somebody that's, let's just say they're in the same department and somebody else is starting. This is just a super fast way, an easy way to make sure that they have the same exact groups as somebody that's their colleague in the same position. That will duplicate what they're in and the roles. You have the force password reset. You also have force sign out, which is the reset sign in cookies item. I have some drive items as well in here. Removing domain findable shares. This is one of the items I mentioned that would be for remediation on Drive. So this would take anything that is shared to domain with the link, and that would retract it to be back to the what Google calls the restricted permission, which is going to be just the explicit shares. You also have remove public shares, and this is what I mentioned earlier that you could combine with the report for public shares. So once you find out, maybe who has a large amount of public shares, then you would be able to utilize this, and that will crawl all of their Google documents, and then anything that they have that they own that is shared to the public with the link, they'll be able to retract that, which is really nice automatically. Specific share removal as well. If you have specifically people that you do not want anyone sharing with, this can also go out of, this would be a good example of something you might put on a schedule. We have that for sign out user, and let's go ahead and create the add to group one here. And this is going to be, usually you're going to combine this one with targeting an organization unit. And let's just say they're going to be a member in this group. So the seasonal, we got the seasonal workers, and we have some full company. So now we'll see the targeting system fully opened up here. So we can add by user, and you can select individual users, or you can do add all, which would be everybody on the domain with just the one checkbox. You could do by group membership, as mentioned earlier. Now this one, organization unit, would probably make the most sense for this because we're going to run it on a schedule. So let's go ahead and make sure that human resources users are going to be added to, let's do this human. This is one now, remove the seasonal. And we're going to target the HR organization unit with a schedule. We're going to say that maybe just once a week, we're going to run this. We're going to run that at midnight, and we're also going to apply that immediately after saving. So what this will do then, once I create this, this is going to hang around, and then every Monday, it is going to go through and look at the users in the organization unit that I've mentioned, that HR org, and it's going to make sure that they are added to those two groups. If they are not, they're going to be added to it. So if we have somebody switching roles and they're going out of one org and going into this one, a lot of times you're going to have group items that, when you're onboarding people, you're going to have something like a checklist a lot of times. You can say this person goes in this and this. But it's just so much easier to do with gPanel. So you can kind of set it and forget it on some of these. So you'll be able to set this, target that. Later on, if somebody switches roles, you move them in the HR. Or if you have a new hire, that way no matter what, like the most time that can go by without them being in those groups is going to be, however long that interval is. In this case, a week, but you can also do daily. Next section, this is going to be a very popular module in here, again, under the Tools module, and this is going to be signature templates. So these will get you the ability to standardize your signatures across your domain, and you're making sure that your branding is consistent. So let's go ahead and delve into one of these, and we are going to take a look at what this looks like in the inside and how this works. So in here, we're going to have a preview down here of whatever user that you're selecting for the preview user. I'm going to choose Phil's account here, and this is going to pull information from the Google directory. And so if the Google directory fields are filled out for this, we can use these templated items here to say, we're going to put down this first name, last name, we're going to put job title, phone, etc. And then if you scroll down here and look down in the preview section, this is going to be filled out per what's actually in Phil's directory information in Google. So if you just fill it out in there, you make sure that that's kept up to date, which is super easy also with gPanel. I'll show you in a moment what the bulk operations are capable of doing in terms of updating en masse. You also have, it's just a signature that we can push back to Google. So anything that you can do or you're already doing in Google Signatures, you can do through here. There's no restrictions around that that Google doesn't have. And so links and images, you want to put your LinkedIn, your social media in there, and your links to all the social media in there. People can click on it and be directed there. You do all that as well. We have a formatting bar up here for predefined formatting options. You can also utilize the HTML viewer / editor here if you want to go in and do more granular items or do something that's not in the predefined formatting bar up here. These are super easy. I know this looks probably a little daunting, but these are actually pretty super easy to set up because a lot of times you can take your existing signature and copy it, just copy it into this top box, and it will come over usually pretty exact with the formatting. And then all you need to do at that point is just trade out what you had statically entered in here, like phone numbers, job titles, and replace it with the templated fields. We have the schema fields that I mentioned earlier that are available. These are items, again, that you can create and then fill out a field for. So that's a good option if you are looking in the normal fields here available through gPanel and you don't see anything that really makes sense to add it in. And you can just create your own. Like Google has multiple different types for each one of these. You can see how long the list is for phone. This is all Google's directory subtypes here for phone. And so if that field is filled out and we add that, it is going to appear here in the preview, and then anything that that person has filled out in the profile field, that would appear there. So this is a great way to set it for consistency and branding, but also one of the benefits of this is you can set it on a schedule. So if somebody does change it during the day, for example, the next time it runs, it'll just revert to what you have in the template. I'll go ahead and move on here just for the sake of time. I know there's some questions there. I'm going to move up a bit because I definitely want to show you a couple more of the powerful items in gPanel, one being bulk operations. And I'll try to save some time here at the end as best I can for any questions. So we have a bulk operations module here, and these is going to be for things that normally if you're going to do them by hand or you're going to do them manually, it's going to take a while. They're going to be kind of a pain. And so one of the things in here I mentioned earlier was the group information. Another one was user profile. So let's take user profile as an example. We can set this, which will print out essentially a report in a spreadsheet, again, a Google Sheet, and it will print out the information for the profile fields. The profile fields, again, those will be that long list of items that we kind of saw in there earlier for all of the subtypes for phone, user, etc., that we just saw in the signature templates. So it's going to be a pretty long sheet and a lot of columns. And first thing it will do is print out a report of what is in a user's existing profile. Now, a lot of those will probably be blank. but you can take that sheet or share the sheet out to somebody and they can fill out the fields. And once those fields are filled out to your liking or changed, you can run the bulk operation, point it to the sheet in question that you have updated, and then it will go out and it will update all of those fields that you have set in the Google Sheet. Some of the other items in here, bulk drive transfer, which is going to be an option. Calendar permission setting, that could be a big one because that's first going to tell you, hey, how many people have maybe their primary calendar shared with more than just free busy outside the domain. So you get a report first, and then if you see shared with event details for external users, then you can retract that by using the bulk operation for calendar permission setting, and then retract it and set it back to free busy. If you want to repurpose groups, for example, you can clear users from a group very easily. Multi-group deletion. You want to remove groups from some people. You have that. Again, these will use our targeting system as well for some of these. Removing a room from calendar events, that's going to be a good one too. If you have users that have left the company and they still have an event that the room is booked on, you'll be able to do that. And you have some drive items, removing shares from users and then user shares as well. So those will kind of go both ways, where you remove a user from other people's shares, or you're using the other one here to remove the user shares, and every document that they own will become unshared, and it'll just be them left as the owner on there as that share. We'll go ahead and move to the last item, and I think probably the most time-saving of items that we have in gPanel, which is going to be decommissioning. So decommissioning, you can create multiple different policies on this. And so what I'm showing you here, you can replicate for other subsets of your population, since you'll usually not have a one-size-fits-all decommissioning policy in an organization unit. But we will have just one here, I'll show you. And the way this works is you set this to an organization unit to monitor. So let's just say we're monitoring this organization unit over here. And what we're monitoring it for is if a user has been moved into this organization unit. So if a user is moved into this, what will happen then is all of the actions that we set for our decommissioning process will then fire immediately. And then this will run through and do all of these items. On the left here, you can see what the available actions are. We have different categories. So this is just going to be for users. Now, taking what people normally do and just kind of adding it there, signing out a user, that's going to be very common. You're going to want to force sign out when somebody's being decommissioned. Sometimes you are going to want to do a suspension, but I'll leave that out for now. Usually a transfer calendar, that's going to be transfer events from their primary calendar to somebody else, perhaps whoever is taking over that position. You, of course, want to do a reset password. That's going to be common. Some security items are delete the application-specific passwords and then revoking third-party app access. That could be like their drive for desktop, for example, that they're signed into still. You can also reassign their aliases over to another user and change the organization unit, remove from groups, clearing that out. Then I'll come back to this in a moment. So I'm going to go down to documents. Now docs also, you're going to have the most common thing that probably people do 100% of the time is a doc transfer. So we're going to add that doc transfer in there as well. Gmail. Now, a large one for Gmail, again, going back to what I mentioned in the user management section, you're going to set a forward, you're going to add a delegate, usually. Somebody's going to need to get into that mailbox and start kind of divvying out mail from there, forwarding it places, and or just doing tasks based on what's actually in that mailbox. And then you want to forward so that that can go to whoever needs to pick up any incoming mail from that mailbox. You can do a delegate to relation as well. So if you have fields filled out for a email address where you want that delegate to go to, for example, if I have a manager field filled out with the actual manager's email address, then I can choose that for the delegation as well. The vacation responder is a pretty common one too. That's going to let you choose what to put here. If somebody emails it, then you can respond automatically with something such as this user, account or this account won't be in use much longer. Please email this such and such instead. And then of course you have your mobile cleanup, things that are going to be very common, like wiping the corporate account from the device. And then maybe you want to block that. And then after a while, delete it from your list in Google. So each one of these actions has a timer on it as well. Now, normally, you're going to do most things immediately. So that's going to say, okay, we've moved a user into this organization unit. We're going to do all these items immediately. And then there are going to be items that in general people hold off on for a bit. And so that's okay because we have built in a timer on each one of these where you can specify when the action actually happens. So a big one is going to be either suspend or delete. People generally don't do either one of these day one. So let's just say that we're going to suspend it after 30 days. And then we're going to do the delete after, we're going to do 90. So now everything's going to fire immediately when somebody's moved into that organization unit. And then anything, or after 30 days, the user will be suspended. And again, you don't have to come back or do anything or check, it's just going to happen. And then after 90 days, the user will be deleted. So this is going to automate a lot of those items. You can see how long this list is. And those are generally, I've even skipped some that are maybe not so common, but you can see this is generally what most people will do in a decommissioning situation, all of these items. And so this is going to save you a ton of time. All you have to do is create the policy, drop a user in, and then there you go. You'll also get emails acknowledging that the action has happened, as well as a summary email, so you can feel sure that the actions that are listed in the decom process actually took place. As mentioned, you can do multiple policies, so you don't have to just do one like you see here. There's no one size fits all generally for decommissioning. So you can create different ones that target different organization units, and then those policies could be slightly different. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and pass this back over to Aaron and see what we have for follow-up here and or closing us out.
Awesome. Thanks, David. I know we didn't have a chance to get to everybody's questions today. We'll get back to you guys after the call with an answer to those. I'm trying to see if there's any easy ones we might be able to answer real quick here too. A lot of them we're going to be walkthrough things. So we'll send you some documentation as well on how you can accomplish some of those things. I know a big thing was around the signature templates. Let me go ahead and share out my screen here. All right. So you guys can join our mailing list if you want. It's promevo.com/gpanel-newsletter. And feel free to tune into our next webinar. It's going to be on June 27th at 1 p.m. Additionally, I'm going to throw up the link here. If you guys do not have gPanel set up now, you can start a 14-day trial. Just snap it in on the Google Marketplace and you can start using that today. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.